Okay, imagine this for a second. A huge invention, maybe something world-changing, pops out of an AI. But here's the twist. It can't be patented. Why? Because, well, the design's already plastered all over the internet. Or even weirder, because a government already has the exact same thing locked away, totally secret. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take those really fascinating questions and sources you send us, and we really unpack them, try to find the surprising stuff hidden inside. Today, we're diving headfirst into this strange place where cutting-edge AI meets, well, the rules of patents, and then crashes right into the secret world of government-classified inventions.
You asked us to look at this tension, and honestly, it's a real mind-bender.
Yeah, it really is. Our mission today, essentially, is to sort of peel back the layers on how patents actually work, the basics, then understand these rare but really critical exceptions governments make for national security, and then look at what happens when these hidden technologies collide head-on with AI discoveries that are spreading like wildfire online.
We're talking about more than just legal documents here. It touches on the future of knowledge itself, who controls it, and maybe even how aligned governments really are with human progress.
Okay, so let's ground ourselves first. Before we get into the secret agent stuff, maybe a quick refresher for everyone. What's the basic deal with a patent? The core idea?
Sure. So at its heart, a patent is basically a bargain. The government grants an inventor a temporary monopoly. Usually it's about 20 years from when they file.
Okay.
And that means only they can make, use, or sell their invention during that time. But, and this is the crucial part, in exchange for that protection, they have to publicly reveal exactly how it works. Every little detail.
The trade-off.
Precisely. The whole point is to share knowledge so that once the patent expires, everyone else can learn from it, build on it, innovate further. It fuels progress, ideally.
And this covers what, like new products, processes?
Yeah, new inventions, products, processes, machines, even significant improvements on existing things. But to qualify, it generally needs to be really novel, something genuinely new.
Not just a tiny tweak.
Right. And non-obvious, meaning someone skilled in that field wouldn't just stumble upon it easily. And of course, useful. Once it's active, nobody else can use it without permission. But the second it expires, public domain, free for all.
So temporary exclusivity for long-term public knowledge, like you said, a bargain. But here's where you pointed out it gets really interesting. You mentioned exceptions. If public disclosure is so central, how can anything be kept secret? Are there actual ways around that public release?
That's exactly the right question.
Okay.
Because while patents are fundamentally public documents, once they're granted, that's the core deal. There are critical exceptions. And the big one for our conversation is national security.
Okay.
So normally, yes, granted patents, always published. You can find them on the USPTO website, European Patent Office, UK IPO, wherever. Even applications usually get published after about 18 months. But governments can invoke national security restrictions. They can place what's called a secrecy order on certain patent applications. Think really advanced military tech, defense stuff, maybe nuclear technology.
Right, sensitive areas.
Exactly. It's pretty rare, handled under specific laws.
Yep.
And it's totally different from a company just deciding to keep something a trade secret and not apply for a patent at all. This is the government stepping in on a patent application.
So the government can basically say, nope, this one stays under wraps. Classify it. Does that mean the inventor hits the jackpot? Like they get secret, never-ending rights to it?
No, actually quite the opposite. It's definitely not hitting the jackpot for the inventor. When a secrecy order lands on an application, the normal rules just go out the window.
How so?
Well, first, the application is blocked. It won't be published, won't be granted publicly. So the inventor's exclusivity rights, they're suspended. They literally can't enforce a patent because nobody officially knows it exists.
Wow, okay, so no monopoly.
No public monopoly, no. In some places, they might get some compensation from the government for being restricted commercially, but it's not about letting them profit freely. And these secrecy orders, they can be renewed indefinitely, potentially for decades. Yeah. And here's the real kicker. If, hypothetically, the invention is ever declassified and the patent is finally granted years later, that 20-year patent term, it starts from the original filing date.
Oh, so the secrecy period eats up the patent life.
Completely, or at least most of it, usually.
Yeah.
So the inventor doesn't get endless rights. Their ability to actually use or market the invention is shut down, but the government gets to use the technology in secret.
Okay, that paints a very different picture. Now let's bring in the AI. You set up this really provocative scenario. What if an AI creates something amazing, but it happens to look just like one of these secret classified government technologies. And worse, the AI design gets shared online globally almost overnight.
Right, and this scenario throws a huge wrench into the works. First off, just the idea of AI as inventor, legally, that's already tricky. Most places right now, they say only humans or maybe companies can be named as inventors on a patent. AI doesn't quite fit.
Okay, so the AI itself can't hold the patent.
Not currently, no. But more importantly for this scenario, if an AI generates a design and that design gets published online, spread around, it instantly becomes what the patent world calls prior art.
Prior art meaning it's already known.
Exactly. Any information publicly available before you file your patent application. And the fundamental rule is you cannot get a patent for something that's already part of the prior art. It's not novel anymore.
So the AI's invention, because it leaked online, is unpatentable by anyone in the normal sense.
Correct.
But it still overlaps with the secret government tech. What happens then? Does the government just ignore it?
Well, ignore might be too strong a word. It creates this really weird tension. From the public patent system's viewpoint, yeah, it's just prior art, end of story, no patent for you.
Yeah.
But for the government agency holding the secret, they might see this public design and realize, uh-oh, something very close to our classified Project X is suddenly out in the open. Now, they won't confirm or deny it, of course. They don't typically announce their secret portfolio. But if someone, maybe a company using the AI's design, tries to file a patent application anyway, that's when things can get flagged.
Oh.
Patent examiners don't just check public databases. They also have access, under strict controls, to certain restricted government information, including some aspects of classified prior art, especially in defense-related areas.
Ah, okay.
So in the U.S., for example, if an application seems to touch on sensitive defense tech, even if the applicant is totally unaware of any classified overlap, the USPTO can slap a secrecy order on that application too.
Even if the applicant invented it independently using AI?
Yes. The secrecy order just blocks the patent, prevents commercial use. It doesn't tell the applicant why, just that it relates to national security.
So the public still has no idea what's secret, but the government definitely knows its classified stuff is bubbling up independently. That really is a paradox for them, isn't it? What kind of pressure does that create?
It's absolutely a paradox. The patent examiner either rejects the application saying, sorry, prior art exists, without specifying if that prior art was public or secret, or they issue that secrecy order. Either way, the public doesn't learn about the classified overlap, but the government. They get a clear signal that knowledge they tried to keep contained is emerging elsewhere. Any attempt to formalize the AI invention, like filing a patent, basically acts like a notification system for them.
Which leads us to this really fundamental problem you identified. What happens when AI doesn't just replicate old secrets, but generates something genuinely new, maybe expanding physics or engineering, and it spreads instantly online? It can't be patented because it's public prior art. But if it also overlaps with or is identical to a classified government invention, can companies just be blocked from using this publicly known thing? Does this whole situation signal the beginning of the end for classified patents? Feels like a massive catch-22.
You've nailed the core collision there. If an AI spits out a revolutionary design, something truly novel to the public, and it hits the internet globally, boom, it's prior art. Nobody can patent it. It should, in theory, be free for anyone to use immediately.
Right.
But if there's a secret classified patent covering the same ground, then technically any civilian company starting to build or use that AI design could be infringing on those secret government rights.
But how can they enforce secret rights?
They can't. Not through the patent system directly. You can't sue someone for infringing a patent. You can't even reveal in court without blowing the classification. So instead of patent lawsuits, governments tend to fall back on other tools.
Like what?
Export controls, national security regulations, maybe even direct pressure or outright bans on manufacturing or using the specific technology, citing defense concerns. The enforcement shifts from intellectual property law to national security law.
Okay, I see.
And that's the catch-22 you mentioned. If the government steps in to suppress the use of this publicly known AI design, they effectively signal, hey, this overlaps with something sensitive we have, revealing the classified connection. But if they just allow it, let companies run with this technology that they previously deemed too sensitive for public release, they lose control.
They're stuck.
Completely. It's a fundamental weakness in the whole classified patent model. Secrecy works great until someone else invents the same thing independently and shouts it from the rooftops. With AI making that independent invention faster and more likely, the odds of these secrets spilling out just shoot way up. They're left choosing between bad options: reveal, suppress publicly known info, or just concede control.
So it might not be the formal end declared tomorrow, but it definitely sounds like the practical effectiveness of classified patents is starting to crumble. Where does this leave governments in terms of keeping future breakthroughs under wraps?
Yeah, practical erosion is a good way to put it. Global AI-driven disclosure just leaves them with fewer and fewer good moves. Reveal, suppress, concede, none are ideal.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. You also sketched out how governments might actually adapt. If the old system is eroding, what comes next? What's a realistic timeline for this kind of shift? It sounds massive.
It is massive. And governments, they tend to adapt slowly until they don't, until the pressure forces a faster change. So let's think about a plausible timeline. In the near term, say the next 0 to 5 years, maybe out to 2030, we'll probably see the first clashes.
More of what we're seeing now.
Exactly, but intensifying. AI-generated designs will increasingly bump up against classified stuff. Governments will likely react case by case, more secrecy orders on patent applications, maybe pressure on platforms to take down certain open source designs, quiet legal nudges to companies. But containment will get harder and harder as things spread on decentralized networks. Classified patents still exist, but the cracks will be really obvious.
Okay, stage 1, patchy containment. What's next?
Then, maybe 5 to 10 years out, so 2030 to 2035, we could see a shift to manufacturing control. Governments might start accepting, okay, we can't really stop the ideas from spreading, but maybe we can control who can actually build the sensitive stuff.
How would they do that?
Focus shifts away from patent secrecy towards controlling choke points in the supply chain. Think restricting access to rare earth materials needed for the tech, specialized manufacturing equipment, maybe even the massive AI compute power required to develop or deploy these things. We might see major reforms in secrecy laws reflecting this. Patent Office could even start using AI screening tools to automatically flag designs hitting restricted areas.
And the public might start noticing.
Yeah, odd things. An invention gets announced and then vanishes. A company suddenly pivots away from promising research. Certain research threads just go cold. The outcome. Secrecy orders are still around, but the real enforcement muscle is in controlling the physical means of production.
Interesting. Okay, further out.
Looking 10 to 20 years ahead, say 2035 to 2045, things could get really different. Call it controlled openness and restructuring. AI might just be too powerful, too widespread by then, preventing leaks of radical inventions. Probably impossible.
So governments give up on secrecy?
Not entirely, but they might shift tactics. Maybe strategic declassification, taking old classified tech, quietly letting it emerge, rebranded as a new AI breakthrough, allowing them to control the narrative. Maybe patents for whole sensitive fields get scrapped, replaced by automatic national security flags.
Yeah.
If an AI generates tech in Area X, it's instantly restricted, no patent needed or allowed.
Wow.
The result, the patent system itself becomes kind of irrelevant for these cutting-edge sensitive technologies. Secrecy is enforced through direct laws, intense monitoring, controlling infrastructure, not through intellectual property.
And beyond that, 20 years plus.
Yeah, 20 plus years, 2045 onwards, we might be in a post-patent world for sensitive tech. Imagine open source AIs constantly churning out defense-grade discoveries. The idea of keeping an invention secret via patent becomes almost quaint and anachronistic.
So the whole system collapses.
As a primary tool for secrecy, quite possibly, governments would likely pivot fully to things like AI monitoring grids, constantly scanning global networks for dangerous new designs. The focus shifts to legal bans on building or deploying the tech, not on knowing about it. Defense strategies might look more like cybersecurity. Assume the knowledge is out there. Focus on preventing or mitigating its use by adversaries.
So the goal changes fundamentally, not controlling information anymore, but controlling action. That is a huge strategic shift.
A massive pivot, yeah. From keeping secrets to managing consequences.
Which brings us to this final, really deep question you raised. If governments start routinely pressuring companies, suppressing AI discoveries, even if they seem beneficial, doesn't that reveal something fundamental? Doesn't it suggest governments might not actually be aligned with humanity's best interests, at least from the perspective of, the whole AI alignment field?
That's hitting a really crucial fault line. Because you're right, there's AI alignment as the technical challenge. How do we build AI systems that are safe, ethical, beneficial, that reflect human values?
Right, the research field.
But then there's what you could call political alignment.
Yeah.
How do governments actually choose to use or control what AI produces?
Yeah.
And those two aren't always the same thing. The pressure you mentioned, it can happen at lots of levels. Inventors get secrecy orders, platforms get takedown requests, and critically, maybe even the AI labs themselves get pressured.
How so?
Governments could push labs to build in filters, restrict what kinds of things their AIs can discover, or talk about no weapons designs, for instance, or demand review processes, or insist models stay closed source to prevent these uncontrolled leaks.
Okay, so how does that clash with AI alignment for humanity's good?
Well, think about that example. An AI discovers a source of incredibly cheap, clean, maybe decentralized energy. From a pure betterment of humanity perspective, that sounds amazing, right? Solves climate change, energy poverty.
Absolutely. A huge win.
But from a geopolitical viewpoint, it could completely destabilize global energy markets. Countries whose power relies on oil or gas lose leverage overnight. It could shift global power balances dramatically. So a government might choose to suppress or restrict that technology, not because it's inherently unsafe for people, but because it's unsafe for the current geopolitical system.
So alignment becomes alignment with the status quo or national interest, not necessarily global human interest.
Exactly. It risks becoming alignment with existing power structures, with national security priorities, rather than alignment purely with human flourishing itself.
And does that suppression then inevitably expose where a government's true priorities lie?
I think inevitably, yes. If AI keeps generating breakthroughs that, on the surface, look fantastic for humanity as a whole, but they consistently get squashed or restricted for security or stability reasons, people will start to notice. The public perception could shift. Each act of suppression would highlight that the betterment of society often comes with conditions, that it gets filtered through these lenses of national security, economic stability, and control. It doesn't automatically mean governments are, evil or against humanity, but it clearly shows they're prioritizing stability, control, and national advantage, sometimes over potentially transformative, open human progress.
So AI, in a way, could act like a mirror, reflecting back at us what our governing structures really value when global human interests and national interests seem to diverge. That is definitely something to chew on.
You're absolutely right. That suppression of AI discoveries. It's going to increasingly highlight this potential mismatch, the gap between the narrative of alignment, we're building this for all humanity, and the sometimes harsh reality of governance. We need to control this for security.
So AI isn't just inventing new things, it might end up revealing the true alignment or misalignment of governments themselves. A really provocative thought to end on. This has been an absolutely fascinating deep dive tracing how AI is really shaking the foundations of secrecy, invention, and maybe even governance. What other established systems do you think AI is poised to disrupt in unexpected ways? We would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep digging, keep asking those hard questions, and keep exploring.